Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast. Cross the line in 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, my fellow Impactors? Welcome to episode 87 of the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast. My name is Geoff. And alongside me on this lovely Saturday, new day, same time, unless it's a pre-show, we'll still do them on Saturdays, is the Ezekiel to my Joseph Park. Max, everybody. What's going on, buddy?
What's up? Yeah, I mean, hey, he's working over there. He's like, hey, guys, I got this idea.
That's a good idea.
I think it might work. So,
Joseph Park in WWE.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I think they were looking for ideas. He's like, guys, I got this idea. We're trying to repackage him. Something happened in my olden days. I'm going to go ahead and see, because no one from WWE probably saw it. They probably think this is a whole fresh idea that he's coming up with.
No, what I'm saying is that who did they think Joseph Park was?
But I'm saying they don't realize that he used to be Abyss.
Oh, he's that Chris Park guy. He's also plays this Joseph Park character.
Yeah, they just...
He doesn't have the mask, so they never put two and
two together. Vince doesn't watch Impact or TNA. He's like, who?
Hey, man. They let their champion on their television.
That's true.
All right. Well, guys, you might be wondering if you'll see if the group lights up here. We really did this on a last moment's notice. It just worked for us in our schedule. And as well, we put out the show at 10 o'clock right after this on YouTube, so not like anyone else is missing it. And thank you to those who are live. If you stick with us live, thank you. If you watch on YouTube or audio, or listen to it on audio, thank you as well. We've been cracking over 200 on YouTube, which is dope. 2 weeks in a row. Thank you guys very much. But as we always say, one friend at a time, one fan at a time. So numbers, we won't pay too much attention to, but I will say that you got 284. Well, we're one away from being even where we need to be for our every episode new Twitch viewer. So to get to episode 87, we need one more. So if you're watching on Twitch or you're on YouTube and you're listening to audio, whatever it may be, go hit us and follow us on Twitch so you can make Max. And also, our goal for Rebellion was 300 for subs on YouTube, 3,500 on Twitter. And we're damn close. Thank you guys very much. IO killing it. The TBN guys killing it. Awesome energy. But yeah, so you probably wonder what we're going to talk about since this what's going on. Since there wasn't really an Impact episode per se, obviously different than what we talked about or last talked about, what we thought was going to happen this week in the IPWF. We'll get into that with number one, obviously. But we got to get to our internet material this week and lagging, pausing. No worries. Hey, if you catch us live, catch us later. You watch us in 10-minute spurts, 1 second spurts. We thank you. Don't worry, buddy. But good to see you back. So, Max, all this, I'm just trying to get into a segue, and I can't transition, but let's get into it.
Alrighty.
It's your favorite. I like it. I enjoy it.
YouTube comments.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
It's always nice when the YouTube comments are about something that we're going to be talking about later on in the show.
Yeah, it's almost like they do our job for us. No, we appreciate it. As we always say, if you're new to this, especially unbiased, transparent, all opinions welcome as long as they're delivered in a cordial way. But as you'll see, so let's get right into that. All right, Max.
I can, kind of. Knockouts need some jobbers on the roster. Seems like they're doing too much 50-50 booking, especially with Shaw and Frost. I agree. I'm all down for having some jobbers. Some Santina Morales and things like that just need to come in there.
Who is Masha beating every week?
But I mean, they need like...
Lish?
Like some static jobbers that come in that are just there because... Yeah, Masha's running through these people, but some of the other people aren't. So It'd be nice if they had, The Fuego del Sols of Impact. They could come out here and just eat pins left and right.
I agree with the first half. The second half, I don't. The 50-50 booking, especially with Shaw and Frost, I don't agree with at all. Because I think, to as we said, to build feuds in different ways, these were two newcomers in the sense. It didn't hurt to build. And this is one of those things you get that early. If these women are women you lock down for 2 to 3 years, you get them in a feud early where they exchange wins. The rivalry that continues forever. I liked it. I like the seeds, but I'm okay with it. It didn't hurt either.
I think it's okay to do 50-50 at times. I will say, going back, one of WWE, when they put Sheamus and Cesaro together, they started that as a best out of 7. So they literally went back and forth, and it was cool to have that. So I think as long as it doesn't transition throughout the entire roster, but having a feud be 50-50 for a bit, I think is okay.
Yeah. Max having a little bit of a clicking every time you use it. I don't know what it is. Can't figure it out. Loose wire or something, maybe?
I don't know.
There. Next up, so we're going to skip the Blurry Walk for a second. Welcome back, Blurry Walk, because there is, I believe, by someone else. So I'll read the next one. Metal Lazy tag titles match. They should have just had a Full Metal Mayhem match, especially if wrestlers can't be in the tag match due to being at other shows. Ever since Cardona won the MC title, hasn't done much with this so far. Anyways, I keep saying the same. Once again, for these set of tapings, we'll see. I get what you're saying, but you can't say he's done. He's defended it in other shows, right?
Yeah, he's been doing stuff off of TV, which is fine by me, because storyline-wise, we're pretty packed. So him not being there and defending other places is fine by me, because he's out there defending it in the indies. So I'm okay with it that way, as long as he's not sitting catering, doing nothing.
No matter if it was defended every week since its incarnation, right? Since it came into play, the respect or middleweight that we want it to get to before you're ready to be heavyweight or determine if you can be main event champion, champion. It's a great time. It doesn't matter if you defend it every week until this point right now. Any kind of sense of prestige or anything. But the Briscoes, we'll get to that. Obviously, they're going to be working with Impact from that point forward. We just got the word from Mike Johnson and PW Insider. Shout out to them. So yeah, Briscoes working with us from that point forward, so they will be there. The Full Metal Mayhem thing, yeah, sure. Yeah. But I love that match. I just think it would be even more of a clusterfuck. Which I think it should will be. Next up, Blurry Walk. Let's switch to that. Max, you can actually read it, and then there's a rebuttal.
All right. I think the only thing Impact needs is a few decent known talents, but with AEW signing everybody, there isn't much Impact can do. The mid-card and upper mid-card really have no division. I can't read it. Like, it could be Morrissey, Macklin, and Jonah if he signs with Impact, but I think it's still not enough.
I think we talked about this. We go over depth charts. We could do it again to refresh everybody. I think because of the contracts, the situation that we're in. I won't say financial situation makes it seem like we're in a bad position, but I say it all the time. Is they get in the black, they spend it to get back. They get in the black, they spend it to get. So I think as we can lock up more people and we still build those relationships, we won't see the full vision until we can start locking in people regularly. It's the word that always beats me. I don't know if that's a fair assessment, but the reply, well, I can't see the 158. 158. Apologize if I butchered that, but he says, sadly, with Tony buying ROH, now stars would probably sign there instead of Impact, considering the owner owns AEW too. I think ROH will now become the third biggest promotion in the United States. It's a shame Impact has a great product. I don't agree. And it's not being a biased Impact guy. Max, you're obviously a fan of AEW as well. I just don't think that no matter the magic Tony Khan has, you alienate the true ROH fans, bringing in your, I won't say leftovers because they're still great talents that I wish we had. But I just can't see him putting much.
I mean, from what he said, it seems like it's going to end up being developmental.
And we have obviously, number 3 to talk about it, but
yeah. But if it is developmental, why are the Briscoes going to sign to be an ROH developmental? Like, I think the people who are going to sign with AEW are still going to sign with AEW, but I don't necessarily know if the people who that Impact are targeting, Tony Khan's going to go after for ROH.
Yeah, and I also don't think the people that we would want in our main event scene or mid-card, almost near main event scene, be people that can't even get into AEW. So I think a lot of prospects. I know we have a lot of prospects. Look at the age, group on some of them. Ace, Bay, Trey, the whole group there. No, I'm missing people, but I think we're in a good place. I think this is just, there's phases to this process. The pandemic helped but hurt us, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But I agree with the assessment. I think patience is the key. Next up, Darker Side's 22. Bailey versus Josh would be an amazing match. Whenever Josh becomes champ, I mean, Ace is a good talent. He can't do what Bailey can do. He is on another level. Max?
I mean, I like Bailey. I think it would be a great match. I think he's going to get his run with the X Division title though for a while. I think in the ring he's amazing, but I think Ace is a more complete package from character in the ring, on the mic, like all of that. Whereas Mike Bailey right now is really just, wow, look at this dude in the ring.
Great indie guy, yes.
Yeah, he doesn't have a defined character between
great is thing. Don't forget that part is we're saying great, but there's nothing about he needs to develop that other
him winning the X Division and it being a work rate title is perfect for him.
Perfect.
It worked for Trey. Trey is kind of starting to come into his own with it. So I think him winning the title would allow him to develop it, but I think he needs to add a little bit more before he goes into a title shot.
I agree with you. Millard Harris, who just actually talked to there in the chat. I saw their play. You guys were great as always. Thank you, buddy. Oh, I saw the replay. I missed the live, so I saw the replay. That would help. Hope Impact keeps bringing in wrestlers because we all know if they don't, Tony Khan will. Love Ty and the Briscoes hopefully going forward. I think we'll talk about that in depth in 3 and 4 and 5. I don't think it's anything to worry about. Once again, I believe we're in a Attitude Era like situation. Monday Night Wars trying to get into segments. So where do we put them? Unless we would have a show, an ROH show, NWA TNA, whatever the hell we eventually become when we finally can afford to do it, or whatever it may be. Then you could worry about signing more, but how many options do you need in such a 2-hour episode a week? It's like it would be like the show of, I don't know, I'm not up to date, but insert show here having 60 main characters. Like, how do you make that work in 2 hours every week? And that's all you have for TV time. But appreciate it. Well, Polaroid Memory, great show, and I agree with all the ROH AEW stuff. Have a sub. Thanks, buddy. All right. And last but not least, Max, do you want to hit on this one?
I think having IPFW next episode is mainly because of MLB opening day on Thursday, so their ratings were going to be very bad. They probably didn't want to hear the BS about the first show after the Multiverse of Matches not giving views. We can go 1 week without a regular program. I want to say they did 68,000 or something, or maybe more, or maybe it was 80,000. Their views weren't.
It dropped, but not once again. It probably means 5 Iowa didn't watch it this week.
Yeah, and it doesn't include their YouTube stuff, which I still think.
Their YouTube there's so much stuff now. I don't care as long as the whatever's happy ratings.
I agree. And we'll talk about the IPFW stuff like that.
The Rebuttal Hill Metal 99. Hey friends, talking. Majority of the games are during the day, and MLB doesn't get big ratings like the NFL. And then opening day always. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to that, and I'm sure baseball. The games are in the day, so it wouldn't affect. We'll talk about impact on Access TV now. So let's go right into that and roll that all in there next.
So It wasn't IPFW.
Right, and that's what we're.
So that's the first thing we need to point out.
Well, that was.
They did a swerve, and they basically showed us highlights of Multiverse matches.
What's going on?
I
Hey,
actually
new faces.
I
in
actually
there.
think it was a great idea.
Well, yeah. Well, let's talk about the episode first. Let's get into a quick reaction for you because last week, obviously you watched it after we had done the show. So I want to get your kind of opinion on best match or and Shelly what the best match was. But real quick, this was a Josh production in the truck, which I really liked. You could definitely tell it's WWE training. No pronouns ever with Josh. So a lot of Deonna Purrazzo. This was basically a recap show with some interviews and promos sprinkled in there that Ultimate X recap, Rebellion, Mickey Chelsea recap. The one thing I want to point out in this, and I'm not gonna spend too much time on talking about the individual things because it was a recap show. But I wish they showed, and maybe they did show it and I just blanked out. But that Mickey and trying to be nice, but Mickey and Nikki, the James Gang promo, I didn't see that before. Where Aldis was talking about, I wish this was under better circumstances. I'm so proud of my time with Impact Wrestling. All these things have been nice to hear before the crowd booed the shit out of them. Because in their defense, if they didn't see that prior, I would have done the same thing based on how we, talked about Impact. But I thought that was interesting. Eddie recap, love his promo work, back to Die Hard. Edwards, ROH fan that touches me. And his promo work I love as a heel as well. Eddie versus Ishii, PCO and Moose recap, and Josh and Jonah, Saban versus Jay White. With that weird Macklin interrupt. Obviously, we have the announcement that it's going to be a three-way at Rebellion for them. Really interesting, I guess, with the ROH stuff. That made sense. Or the Honor No More. I don't know. Next up, Good Brothers versus Briscoes recap. They announced the return of the Briscoes for Rebellion and Honor. We just announced at the top of the show. Then Josh talks about the Deonna ROH situation, and they're not holding anything back here. Max, we've talked about this, and we'll get into it with 2 and 3. But interesting that they're just saying stuff, and it could be work. But we have speculated for a while that the relationship is whatever at the moment. Deonna then shows her promo, which I thought was fire as well. We get a recap of the her versus Fabi Apache swerve with Taya then coming out, which, by the way, all the people said that there's a lot of people elsewhere said, what is she going to do back? She hasn't done everything, first of all. And the point of her going back to Impact, especially after a run in NXT, at least from my perspective, would be, look at the respect she had. Look, Impact hasn't been a hot, we haven't been a hot brand on a consistent basis for a long time. We've been building, we've been digging out of the hole where we've had patches of success, and I think we're in a great place. But to have someone's music after they returned for almost 2 years of being gone, and that group in Texas, knowing it was really dope to see. I won't say homegrown, but one of our talents, Impact people, that and the fandom got it right away. It's a good sign. So it's a good sign for us, and I hope she does some things with beyond just the Deonna program. She'll hopefully move to the tag as well because she hasn't won those. So then we get a Deonna promo, get the Taya promo. Them both new, and then we get what I think tonight, Shelly versus Bayley. Do you agree on that? First of all, and second, if you do, what would be the runner-up?
Yeah, so that was definitely match of the night. It was absolutely amazing. I think that match is when I really felt like, okay, Bayley's winning the X Division title at Rebellion. I'm going to go ahead and put my pick out there. That to me was great. Yeah, update the board. When it comes to my second favorite match, it's a little bit different because obviously going in when you watched it, you didn't have the, I guess, the benefit of knowing news and stuff that had come out about like the who's coming back and so on and so forth. But knowing that the Briscoes are going to be back in Impact and plan on doing stuff, that to me was my second favorite match because I know that it sets up, at least in my opinion, what's going to become a long-term storyline of either the Good Brothers versus the Briscoes or Bullet Club versus Briscoes. Because Jay White got involved, Bay got, so there's all that. So that to me was super exciting because I know there's it's the beginning of what I'm assuming is something I'm excited for, a larger part of a story.
Yeah. Just real quick, may want to check if you have anything else on. Turn off. Our internet seems to be choppy.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess pretty good. I do hear the choppiness, but yeah, no, I agree. I did have. But you know, it was watching it back, and that's the reason I wanted to talk about that before we talk about IPWF and kind of mold it into that, is going into this week, we thought that IPWF wouldn't be a bad thing necessarily. They've been 52 weeks. We always do that. It's a fun kind of refresher before we get the home stretch of a pay-per-view. So for that reason, I didn't as much. Now seeing this show, with the recap, with the production they put into there, with the putting over their people, showing the Briscoes, showing I was wrong. That was the better of the options. I still would have been fine with IPWF. But would you agree now? Now to let you answer, sorry.
No, I agree completely. I think that they realized that with Multiverse of matches happening on WrestleMania weekend and all the other stuff that was going on, there's people who may not have seen it. And a lot of this stuff led into stuff at Rebellion, stuff post-Rebellion. So it made sense for them to say, hey, we're going to re-show this. We're going to give you some backstage stuff so that if you didn't watch it, here's what's going on. So you don't come back and you're completely lost. Where the Briscoes come from? What's happening there? So although you may have read it, I think that's why they did it. I think it was smart. The IPFW stuff is something that once you film it, you can keep that for whenever. It doesn't have to be a
time sensitive,
a time sensitive thing.
No
and
pun
I like
intended.
that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. With all those reasons, I think for me it was just a matter of IPWF is that just, hey, let's have a little bit of refresher. So I didn't mind it. But now I see that, you know, obviously that this was the better choice. It wasn't a debate of which one was going to be the better choice, but was it okay for that? I didn't mind it because, as you said, it adds that other layer of impact that a lot of places don't do or don't offer to free agents or whatever it is. My guess is that, and it is hit or miss with some people. I will admit that. It's not always, you know, what people enjoy. What I would guess is that for some of those people, and Io just mentioned in there, I'll talk about what the TBN, the poll of the guys they put out. That IPWF would have been some of theirs, and I don't know who's on there, but I would say fourth match of the night, fifth at midnight, I think. So the Multiverse of matches ended when? Midnight? 10, 11, 12, 1? No, 1.
Maybe 1.
Maybe 1, actually. And then on top of that, they're going to film. So maybe the footage on top of being isn't up the standard for being that show right after a really successful pay-per-view. I mean, I have not seen more, like, for instance, speaking of PW Insider, the way they announced that this was going to be the match instead of IPWF, or this was going to be the show instead of IPWF. They said, the excellent pay-per-view. You never see them get those kind of, little nice, blurbs for the most part, but I have not seen a negative blurb. Is what I'm trying to get at. Scrolling through or seeing anything on the internet, so I've been happy with the response in Multiverse matches. It was the right move, and it continued all the storylines. So heading into Rebellion, long term, maybe it helps tremendously. All right. Let's get into topic number 2 because we need our own palate refresher, Max. We need our own IPWF. And if you're new to the show, you could go back and watch all of them. We are a stout defense. We understand in most regards. With that being said, this is too funny not to pass up, to pass up. So, Max, do you have a tweet that everyone's talking about?
I have the tweets pulled up. So I will say that Reddit seems to believe that Tony was getting into a little bit of the magic nose candy, and hit Twitter hard.
Yeah, he was skiing.
And he came up with this series of tweets. So an independent study has confirmed that much of the staunch anti-AEW online community aren't real individuals. It's a staff running thousands of accounts plus an army of bots to signal boost them. Look closely. These aren't real people. Who'd pay for such a wildly expensive thing? Ever wonder why so much of the activity of these accounts is retweets and replies? Like, who actually has 80% of their activity is straight up retweets? And then he went into research this one yourselves. You internet detectives thrive in these situations. Speaking of wild things, and he goes into a match. He's like, their boiler room staff is going to be working overtime on Friday, and I love it.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to watch the replay on YouTube because my connection is horrible. Have a great show. I wonder if it's us. It might be us. Hopefully not. We'll test this out and take a listen. So, Max, why don't you just say your opinion while I try to hear what it sounds like to the people listening?
So, first off, I do think that there are bots out there that are retweeting and kind of boosting anti-AEW stuff. Do I think it's a specific company run by, some people up north? No. I just think there's if you look at fans, there's some hardcore fans of both companies, WWE and AEW, and they just like to shit on each other. It's what they enjoy doing. So I think there's probably people out there who have multiple accounts, just like Kevin Durant does, and they tweet something and that shits on AEW, and they jump on their multiple accounts and they like and retweet it from their 4 or 5 different accounts. So I think that's probably what's happening with a lot of it, but I think some of it's valid criticism. His statement about who actually has 80% of their activity is straight up retweets. I mean, there are a bunch of people on Reddit who were like, I have 80% of my stuff is retweets. All I do is like and retweet stuff. I don't really interact that much. So I feel like it's him trying to defend the fact that there are people that have legitimate criticisms. But the thing is, WWE and AEW are 2 completely different things. They are geared towards 2 different types of audiences. WWE is a moments-based company. They want to be able to take clips and make YouTube videos and put them on Twitter and YouTube and get people to remember when you saw Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker, that look of shock. I don't remember what happened 4.5 minutes into that match, though. But I remember the big moments. AEW is much more 5-star matches, start to finish, amazing wrestling is how they want their product.
Yes.
And so people, if you don't like one, you're not going to like if you're a WWE person, you're not going to like AEW. So
look, I think for any
I agree.
Marvel, DC, it goes for, there's a bunch of things. First of all, our for those who sticking with us, we appreciate it. I don't know if it's Twitch or it's us, but I don't even know if this is worth. We'll see if it's worth airing after. I think that dynamic. We don't have to get into that. Obviously, people are going to argue because they don't like stuff. And it's a great point. It's apple and oranges. And some people like apples, some like oranges. It is what it is. But when it comes down to those things, do I think it's WWE? No. It could it be? Sure. Anything could be anything. But at the same time, for me, what this really represented was him binging. I imagine allegedly. I'll even put that to the side. I'll just say small dick energy was really, really transparent here, man. And with us in our thoughts, and once again, we defend the dude, our thoughts of maybe the relationship with Impact and AEW isn't as great as we thought it was. Maybe the New Japan thing hurt one side. Maybe the ROH purchase now hurts something. We don't know, but maybe it's not necessarily the door's closed, but it's possible that it's not as good as it seems. Or as they would like it to seem. With that being said, man, just stay off Twitter, bro.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So it's just funny. Thought it would be a good palate cleanser, just because we don't, obviously like to keep up with our boy Tony, and is about count.
I mean, I agree. I think Impact is very good at actually both
managing
sets.
Both.
Yeah, they put on great matches in the ring, and they, at the same time, they also do great backstage story stuff that is like story based, the Broken Hardy stuff that's kind of like out there. They do a really good job of giving everybody different flavors.
And once again, if you don't like Impact, that's fine. And I say the same thing about us, let alone AEW or WWE. If you like the product but you don't like the voice, or you don't like this, or you don't like that, go somewhere else. Like wrestling, pro wrestling. It doesn't mean it's not comparable. You don't have to like one or the other. At the same time, it's just funny to see that this is he's just a grown ass man. I mean, he's our age, right? I mean,
I feel like he's,
well, we know his issue.
But like he doesn't like, he gets super offended when people don't like his product. Like he takes it personally.
Right.
And that's the problem. It's like, dude, you're running a wrestling company. Not everybody is gonna like everything you do.
He owns the Jaguars.
But that's the thing. Nobody likes the Jaguars. So all he hears is criticism. But AEW, like, he came in, and props to him. He came in and kind of like was like the prodigal son of wrestling. Like, finally a second company has returned, like, to the level that was WCW. Like, it brought people back to like the Monday Night Wars kind of like mentality where you had two. Do I think it grew wrestling? No, but do I think that it, for the people who had, your hardcore fans who had gotten tired of WWE, they felt like what they felt like watching that. Like, this is what I've always wanted. It's an indie with WWE's production behind it.
Yeah, and hours. To me, it's just it comes down to it's and that's what it is. I don't care if he was the second coming of Jesus to wrestling. I like what he's done. He just needs to lay off the Twitter. It's just, he literally has the golden goose. He can do anything. He literally has. Many people think that Marco Stunt is some superstar for a short period of time. Okay, but did they replace him like a motherfucker? Like that? Yes, they did, when he had new shiny things to bring in. Don't blame him. Nothing against Marco Stunt either. Not my cup of tea. Probably why I don't watch AEW. But he can do that. The people that are loyal to him, he could spit shine a turd and they'll eat it. And that's not a diss. It just, he's got the golden goose. Don't fuck it up. Stop tweeting. Stop just be the cool guy. But I think when you show your hand when you're that person, when you have jealousy or you have insecurities, it really shows, especially when you have but why, when you're number one, why? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, right? I think in the eyes of the internet, he's number one. All right, so let's keep that going, just because of something he said. And this is nothing negative he said. It was just kind of what he's done with ROH. We've had a couple of weeks to assess what he's done with it. A couple of weeks, yeah. Kind of seen the vision. You've heard his responses for the most part. You've seen the talent he's going to keep and not keep. One is how upsetting is it that they that he owns it and not us, not Impact. And two, he mentioned, or someone had questioned him about Maria and her, her responsibilities and her creativity when it came to the locker room for the women's division of ROH before they were purchased. And he said, "Yeah, we understand working with them. Does that conflict our thoughts? Is it being a feeder place, or does that go along with it? And two, how much does it would suck on top of that if that group that we OGK, what are they? The Kingdom, excuse me.
OGK, yeah,
OGK.
Kingdom.
And that Honor No More group kind of dissipated. We love all of them. I think we could say that's fair to say. But how much would it be another kick in the nads?
I think it would suck. It would definitely be a pretty big kick in the nads. But I also feel like if he really wanted them, they would have been on Supercard of Honor. Like,
yeah.
Like, let's be realistic. They weren't, right? They weren't wrestling at.
No, if they're not signed yet.
But they weren't wrestling at Multiverse of Matches.
No.
So he clearly could have brought them in. He brought in fucking Cheeseburger. So they could, like.
But what do you think that's why? Do you think that's a matter of them being signed to us, which I don't think is the case? Or do you think it's maybe.
I just don't think he wants to work with them. Like, realistically, I understand it. Outside of the Gresham versus Bandito, which was a ROH versus ROH match,
yeah,
he ran through every single person. Like, he took titles off of all of them.
Right.
Like, he had Rhett Titus, and I'm not saying Rhett Titus is the greatest wrestler of all time, but he had Rhett Titus drop his title in 6 minutes.
Well, to Suzuki, he wants that relationship with New Japan.
Like,
obviously,
I get that, but like,
yeah, we get the point. Yeah, he
basically was like, "Get out of here, Josh." Well, like, he gave Mercedes and Willow more time than he gave Suzuki and Titus. Like,
yeah, we get it.
So
he doesn't care about ROH.
Yeah, so like, I don't think he cares about those guys. I think he's going to use the bouts to further his storylines. He's going to get some of those bouts on, like, old school ROH talent. Joe is about to beat Suzuki, I'm pretty sure, probably on Wednesday. So he'll get that. He'll use the FTR, are going to kind of run with it. So he's going to use the belts to elevate his people. And then when he finally gets a deal, I think he's just going to turn it into feeder. I don't think he's going to be grabbing like ex-ROH guys, because what's the point then? Like, why do you want those guys in your feeder company unless they're huge names like Joe doing a return to ROH type thing? But
I think that's where, that fear from some Impact fans that this is going to become a third brand, because if you do that, then you're basically creating a WWE NXT, right? And that's essentially what the level we're at. As besides the fact that I think we're moving past that by locking more people in. NXT is a mix of newcomers and then some sprinkled veterans of NXT, and that's what he could do with ROH. I agree with you in that system, and I think that he might be a fan of what the legacy of ROH, that TV library, as TU said there, is obviously a big get for him. But I think that was the big get. Now, to answer, I think you're answering the question that, yes, it would be we shouldn't worry about losing people of that nature, though, because
correct,
the option's more in our favor. Yeah, and I agree. I think if we look at it as that, and I agree with you that if he's using it for what we believe he's using it, we also can't believe that Maria and them are going to bolt as soon as their dates are done and go to work there. So it goes hand in hand. And you're right.
On top of that, I know we're older. We're in our 30s. We don't have unlimited time. Like, when we were 20, early, mid-20s, we could watch. If there was wrestling on 5 days a week, I would have watched it 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have the time. Like, I have to pick and choose what I watch.
Right.
So if he puts on a third show that he has, like, huge stars coming to, is he taking away people who are going to watch Dynamite and Rampage? So I think he's going to make it. I think it's going to end up being a feeder, and I think he'll do some things like bring Punk back and Joe back and stuff like that
for runs.
For like, this is like a throwback to old ROH guys when they're not on Dynamite.
Right.
And it also wouldn't surprise me if he uses it for people who aren't appearing on AEW to bring them in there, because he's already got a massively bloated roster. If I have guys who aren't on Dynamite, why am I going to hire the Kingdom?
Right. No, that makes sense.
In?
Yeah.
So
unless you feel they're an upgrade to someone you already have. So
that's a possibility.
You know, it's an optimistic way of looking at it, and it's nothing against the talent. It's just the vision in which he has said company. So
yeah,
I agree with you there. We'll talk about some moves with us. I just want to mention because I have briefly the talk guys. Go check them out. Episode 16 is up right now. Different show than ours, but same great nonsense, man. Definitely finding their groove. But I bring it up because on episode 16, an IO had made the clip of it and put it on there with the and we were talking about having matches in the between Christian and Mike Bailey, who was the MVP of WrestleMania weekend. And it goes into, like, I think Bailey had wrestled 5 or Blake Christian, one or the other. And I just want to make that finish that and mention that. Shout out to them. Live every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. BST. But also because we were talking about the IPWF thing, you know, it would have been some of those if Bailey created a character and was on there. Their 6th match of the night. So I think the quality, although they are talented and younger and probably could do it, maybe isn't the level of putting it on the night after. So let's move on to that, though. Speaking of Multiverse match as well, Taya has returned, and she quickly was put on the roster page. The language and the verbiage in which they are talking about her and the press releases they have put out, very much that Taya is back. Obviously, if you couldn't realize it from earlier, I'm a big Taya fan. I think, you know, a lot left to prove. No, she is a star in her own right, a legend in women's wrestling. But this is where I think it gets fun. She brings back, you could do Wrestle House. There's all those extra things that go with her. She's not just a knockout that used to be a champion coming back. So, but it looks like she is returned for the long haul. And Savannah Evans, who must have been working on a shorter deal, or we were there for Slammiversary when her debuted, so I don't know how many months.
Is that when she debuted?
Yeah. Oh wait, you might not have been there. It might have been the.
It was the taping after.
The taping after, but literally the day.
Because Fire and Flavor was still there at Slammiversary.
Yeah, and then she got taken. That's right.
Yeah.
I know why I think Rebellion, Tasha, and Rosemary was the first, chosen one there. But so there might be other moves in the knockout division coming soon. But with Savannah sticking around, and remember, I had read an interview where she was mentioning about resigning and why she's happy to be there, and really putting Impact over in their locker room about how they've created where no one's stepping on each other's toes. I thought that was really nice way to say it, but that the locker room is all in it. They want to put a great product on compared to just one great segment. They're not all out for themselves. I really dig that because you keep hearing that affirmation in a lot of the talent's interviews. But with her being signed, we said, there's obviously a lot of potential with her there. It reminded me she won that Monsters Ball in honor of Daphne. I forgot about that. There's obviously an inevitable split there, so her value is going to just rise from here, especially when she splits for Tasha inevitably. What do you think about the division where we're at now? I had wrote it down, so if you need me to tell you all the knockouts that are in it, but do you see it getting too big? Do we need more? They said we need jobbers, but Masha hasn't even faced and I say this kindly, a legitimate talent in the sense of how it's portrayed on TV.
We've got Lish. She just needs to get out there and start jobbing to people.
Yeah, that's what she does now. She's a viable jobber. She's on TV. She's great.
So I don't think it's too big at all. I think it could be, because you have the tag division, that completely changes the size of the division that you're allowed or able to have. If you didn't have a tag team belts, the division would probably be good, because if you think about it, the Inspiration are split, all them. But because you have tag team belts, adding 4 more women at least that you can then partner together is almost a must, because at some point this inspiration, influence,
feud.
Thank you. My brain stopped working.
Yeah.
I was looking at the pictures of them. I was like, I can't think what they're going through. Their feud is eventually going to stop.
Yeah.
And then you need to have a team. And right now it's Decay. Is that?
Well, Rosemary's doing singles, but Tasha Evans.
Tasha and Evans, but like Tasha is still the champion, so I don't think she's going to chase. So if assuming that she beats Rosemary, it would be Decay, and then that's it. So you really do need to develop one or two women's teams. So I definitely don't think the division is too big.
Right.
But
that's
fair. Think it's in a good spot right now, but I do think it needs to grow a bit.
Yeah, looking at it from them, from that perspective, I agree. I mean, they're the tag. That's the one thing we hear a lot of is the tag divisions once again being thin. Now we're hearing the middle and heavyweight one being thin. Once again, I believe it's a reaction or a product of not having the budget available to keep 60 guys on a freaking roster. We don't have that right now, or they're not putting it into it. They're making it, putting it back in, making it, putting it back in. They're not digging a giant hole against. They want us to be. They want us to be viable and self-sufficient, not paycheck to paycheck or missing paychecks. So right now we can't sign 15 tag teams, but for that reason, a few more knockouts. I like the Fire and Ice idea with, obviously we mentioned it before, Giselle and Frost here. Now Taya's back. Does Taya go with Rosemary? Does she find someone else? I still think there's a possibility with Chelsea and Deanna. I think there's a possibility with Mickey maybe finding someone, bringing someone from. So I think that's the way to do it. Is if you can't financially have a deep knockouts roster to fulfill the needs of that division or both divisions, have some people who are constants like a Lady Frost, who you bring in someone who's maybe, and I don't want to say sidekick because that takes away from, I don't want someone to be the proverbial Janetti, but someone that could come in on a loop, that comes in from time to time, kind of how Rachel was until unfortunately she left. I think she was supposed to stick around, but do you know what I mean? Like someone who kind of comes in when hey, we're doing tag team stuff. We're doing,
I mean, the good thing about what Impact does is because they bring on people for a per appearance basis, is you can go out and find someone and say, hey, we want to set up a feud between you and this person. We would like it to last through the pay-per-view. So 2 months, let's just say, hypothetically. So you want to come in for this time frame, we'll pay you for it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you can do that. So, and I know we've talked about the AEW Impact relationship maybe being frayed, but if it's by some act of God, for no other reason than to get in access to that women's roster so that they could bring over a couple people just for like Allie coming back. Let's team Allie with.
That's fair.
So there's some people in there that I think would be good ideas to just rotate in who aren't doing anything in AEW, and just say, hey, can we have them for 2 months and then we'll send them back to you, and here's our storyline. And that to me is great because it allows you to constantly bring in fresh people while, like you said, saying, hey, we've got 6 or 7 who are always going to be here, but we can rotate in and then kick people out. And then you don't have to have a situation where this person has been on the roster page and you're like, I ain't seen that motherfucker in 8 months. Like, what's going on?
Well,
so
I think that's the double-edged sword of it. And you have to figure, does it quiet the people who want a deep division if you have the roster page have, say, whatever you call Tasha and that's a bad example, but say Rosemary and the Havoc's not there, but you bring someone in to be with Rosemary now. I'm just using it because it just came up. Do you have them as a team, and then would people be okay with that person? Oh, they just had some, my tag team partner isn't a full-time member of this roster. They come in because they're my tag team partner. I don't mind that. especially if you treat them with the same. I mean, look, you mentioned Finn Juice, but I think
Bullet
a lot
Club?
of Bullet Club, but I think a lot of people prefer this is ours. These are our people. So we'll see. I see T. Hughes mentioning Impact should bring Wentz back team with Trey. Yeah, we're not really going to touch on that. I hope the truth will prevail.
Exactly.
Either way.
All we'll say about that is until we know more,
Yeah,
I'll hold off on that.
yeah. I could say I've brief interactions with both, and both are very pleasant people from what I've. That's all I could say. So we'll see. But hey, talent's talent, and if everything's good, then I'm good. I love them. I love the wrestlers. Trying to read the things there, but all right, let's get into the last one here. We got the Briscoes. Obviously we could talk about this in great depth about what they do for the tag division. We know all the tag teams. It's great to have them here. The big news is that they're going to be working with us from Rebellion forward. I think that says a lot. They just dropped the GCW tag titles, not necessarily meaning they're signing with us because Matt Cardona's always there. It doesn't matter. Bailey is there. I know there's more. Where do you think this goes? Is my first question for you. As far as if they're with us for a good chunk of it, do you see them winning the tag titles sooner rather than later? And then I don't know, man. It gets me popping every time just saying their name that it's associated with Impact. But where do you see? Let's do this. Where do you think they go first? Let's start there. Do you think it's hey, we got to finish up with the Good Brothers and Bullet Club?
I do. I think that's their first feud is Good Brothers and Bullet Club. I think there's a possibility that could be a championship feud.
Meaning?
I think Good Brothers could end up winning at the title.
Again.
Or again.
What about the Briscoes winning? Do you think it's that quick, or do you think it's they got to earn it kind of?
I think they'll. If I'm being, here's what I think, and I'll give out more predictions. I feel like the Kingdom wins the title.
Really?
Because they kind of have a feud with the
DVD
with Good Brothers. Well, with Good Brothers, and because didn't they come in and cost? Yeah. So what happens if the Briscoes come in and are part of Honor No More?
So.
And then you add them. So I think that could not a long-term partnership, but a short one.
But what is the Kingdom? Where does that put them? Together?
So I think that, yeah, I think you could see some situations where Bullet Club, where Beyblade go up against the Kingdom. Wow, the Briscoes battle Good Brothers. But I think there's gonna have to be a Briscoes versus Bullet Club because they did too much at.
Fair. But what I'm saying is,
Multiverse.
where does VVD play into this? Is this a instance where they're the champion, but
I think VVD's losing their titles at
Oh,
Rebellion.
wow. Yeah, I mean, there's 8 teams.
Yeah, like they're at this point it's well past time for them to move for somebody else to hold those titles.
They've held it for 2 months, not even.
Okay, it's well past time for them to hold those titles. Should never.
I think you're right
with
the knockouts as well. We talked about this last week. The ever changing right now might be the best for all parties.
So I think you could set up something with Kingdom. You could set up something with Good Brothers. But I do think Briscoes, if I had to guess, I would say by the next pay-per-view, they will be in a tag team title
after
match.
Rebellion.
Yes. Not Rebellion. The fall. So that would be... is that Slammiversary?
Because the big 4. Well, there would be those medium ones. Obviously, we have Under Siege or whatever.
I don't think. No, I think they wait for the Briscoes at like something like Slammiversary.
I mean, yeah. So, even if it happened, I mean, yeah, that's the one thing I don't want to happen. We obviously mentioned Finn Juice, and that was a make good. A lot of the things we've done was a make good for New Japan, which I do not mind whatsoever. It needed to be done. I like Finn Juice. I ended up pretty much, really digging them. But there's that part of it where you give it to a team, and granted that situation is different, but you give it to a team who's going to have at least a cup of coffee. But what else they got to fight for? And that's the only thing I don't want. I think that will be a sign for me if the Briscoes are here to be a part of Impact or not until we hear, hey, they're signed. It is going to be as how long it takes them to win. If they hot shot it and or shotgun it, whatever the fuck it's called, and they win it the first month, they're just getting that name in the books.
Yeah, I hope it's not that fast. I think they have a feud with Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And then I think they go on to, and here's the thing, I'm trying to remember which one was it, Jay or was it Mark that won ROH?
Jay is the heavyweight champion, world champion, and Mark was the TV.
Okay, so you also have the possibility that it was Jay, that you could add these guys to your singles too.
If one of them, I don't even know how. Well, yes, I would want to see Jay versus Josh Alexander, battle of the Jay Drillas. They both just hit their finisher on each other all day long. Like I'm cool with. What about Swan and Mac? You know what's funny is I think they have a good chance of Rebellion too. I think what Rebellion gives Impact the chance to, if it's the Kingdom or someone like the Soldiers, it gives someone to sneak in there that hasn't been necessarily on a winning streak in the tag division, as to win it and say, "Oh, look, we beat everybody," and start shooting them to whatever. Because VBD is a entity. It is a brand. It doesn't. They don't need the titles.
They're like the Undertaker. They don't need it. Now here's my question. I know the Briscoes are supposedly booked at GCW. The same day.
Well, they just dropped their belts, so I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. If it turns out that they are not on that show, what percentage chance do you think they show up? Not necessarily in the match, but interfere in the match.
I think it's more likely that the GCW run was, and I hope they make good. I don't want to burn any bridges, especially with GCW or anyone that's been good to us. But if they're not in it, I think it would be if they're going to be in Poughkeepsie the next day anyways, there's 100% chance they're involved in the match in some capacity.
I agree. And I agree. I don't think that them dropping the belts is, us being upset with GCW. I think it's the fact of, hey guys, we're going to be working with Impact for a decent amount of time, which means we can't
defend.
We can't defend. We can't guarantee that we're going to be available for your guys' dates. Impact's is going to take primary, like
priority, first priorities.
Yeah, they're going to take priority. So it makes sense that for them to be like, hey, let's drop the belts to
Bussy.
By the way, Bussy, yeah. And they I've watched the end of that match. It was the worst power driver I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh man, hey,
it was bad. But yeah, I think that's what it was. I think it's like, hey, we're going to be working with Impact. We're just going to drop them. I think there's a chance that they might not. If they show up, though, that would be awesome. But we'll see.
Yeah, thank you. We know it's lagging. We don't know what it is.
Yeah,
it might be Twitch, might be us. We're not sure. But thanks for sticking with us, guys. Thanks for rocking with it. I agree with you, Max. To end on a positive note, I think the Briscoes are here for a long term. I think it makes sense for them to say, hey, we got first priority on it. I don't want to jinx it, but I think you're right on that. I don't think there's any burnt bridges or anything like that. But I could very well see them, and I saw the comment there about the Good Brothers contract maybe up after Slammiversary. I think they're with us for the long haul as well. Too much side things that they can do or have done for Impact that just, if you're not invested, it doesn't make sense for how much they've put into it. And if it is and they're booking it, thank you for all the work you put into it. But
it wouldn't surprise me if they sign with New Japan, but then have a large impact, like
the working relationship,
spend a lot of time in Impact. Yeah, because that, to me, I mean, I guess they could go to AEW, but here New Japan to me seems the most likely, and I think either way they'll work both pretty regularly.
Yeah, I think no matter what way we cut this, if it's for Rebellion and the 3 months of tapings that follow, uh, and the Briscoes are there, and Ty is there, and now we know Savannah's staying, Ace is staying. I think the Good Brothers stay. Um, man, um, you know, I don't know.
Interesting
Yeah,
factoid. If the Briscoes win the Impact Tag Team Championships, it would technically be their second Impact Championship, as they are full Impact Pro, or they were full Impact Pro Tag Team
uh,
Champions. I'm just looking at
so they're
their
two
stuff
time.
they've held.
Yeah,
So
uh,
technically, not necessarily Impact Wrestling, but full Impact. So they would be the
they've
second
held,
time. They'd be 2-time Impact champions. You just
but
kind of have
different.
to
Yeah,
change,
logos
you
and
know?
companies and
Yeah.
places. Yeah, no. Like I was saying, it's just a great time to be an Impact fan, guys. So if you're new to it, um, let us be your guide to it. If not, there's other great programs out there that you guys could go find that make great Impact content. Um, but to plug some of ours, I already mentioned Talking Bloody Nonsense. They also have TBN Chats, which they have a interview with Rio right now up there, and she just wrestled at PEW's. I'm gonna forget it, King of Combat, but it was really good. So go check that out. She did that with Mr. Pat Craig. Once again, they air every Thursday, 4 p.m., 9 p.m. BST. And look out for Power Rankings, the official, excuse me, return of the extended Power Rankings with Datia and Bert. That will start airing, and Lucha as well, chiming in there since he's the grandfather of them. It'll start April 25th, which is right after Rebellion, so that's perfect. Just a 10-minute show, power rankings in between. They'll still be on here, but the 5 and 5 will be added. And you get a little show, make it more important, do a little sports centery twist on it. And like we said, every rankings is been, I think it's been pretty decent lately. But we have a committee, and if you're interested in changing that, write us at TNAIW channel. It takes a DM. It no time, no hassle. Every week after you watch Impact, you just got to get into your power rankings before Friday. So, not a bad gig there. And go check out Perfect Timing. LOL TNA episodes 1 through 4 will have a 10 episode season. Then we'll come back for another 10 after a little bit of a thing there. But we've done quite a bit. Another one coming this Tuesday, 4:20 p.m. But the last one up was Cookie Gate, and it's worth a watch. It's worth a watch.
Is that really what time they drop? Is 4:20 p.m.
PST time though, California time. Oh man. Yeah, we thank you guys for rocking with us. We appreciate it. If there was a lag, I mean, obviously you can see the lag. But if the YouTube recording of this isn't good, we'll make up to you guys somehow. But we appreciate you sticking. Yeah, we apologize. We thank you. Sundays, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Little over, obviously. Every week. And Saturdays, we will still be there. What do you say? Just poke Jeff the Bear. You just grumpy and DM. I'm not grumpy. I don't come off well through text. It's just not my. It's not my jam. Anywho, thanks Bacon Space. Join our community. Join other communities. Join the Impact community. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. Stay away from the bots, ladies and gentlemen. Max, you want to say anything?
No, I'm excited about Impact. I think Rebellion is shaping up to be exciting.
Yeah. Look at that card.
I know. I'm really interested to see how things break after Rebellion for like Deanna and stuff, because I think she's probably losing her Reina de Reinas. I'm still really hoping she loses the ROH title to like Chelsea. And just so we send Chelsea over there to drop it, just kind of as a hey.
The irony of that happening, and then Chelsea, if that were to happen, and her finisher's the Unprettier, and Christian's finish. What's the odds of that happening? It would be beautiful, poetic irony. Oh man. Yeah. No.
Or just have Christian come in and beat him for the ROH Women's title.
With a
like,
chair. We'll do it on pretty.
Yeah, Christian just comes in, hits her with a chair, pins her, like whatever.
Oh man. All right, guys. Thank you for rocking with us. We really do appreciate it. Help us with those numbers. We're trying to get to 300 on YouTube, 3,500 on Twitter before Rebellion. Let's grow this platform. We love you guys. Thanks for sticking with us. And hopefully this audio is good. Bye, everybody.
Hopefully. Later, guys.